I'm Sherry.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Kim. We're the Spooky Hoochies, and this is Soul Session. We are a trio of soul sisters who get together every weekend over the phone to discuss our favorite paranormal cases and give you, the listener, the opportunity to eavesdrop on that conversation. Spend the night with the Spooky Hoochies.
We're not just telling a story. We're stepping into a legend. On Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, there sits a Dutch colonial home with shattered windows that seem to stare back at you. To the neighbors, it was just another house on a quiet street. But behind those walls, something sinister was waiting. In November of 1974, the peace of the neighborhood was shattered when an entire family was murdered as they slept. 6 lives were ended in one night. 6 voices silenced forever. But according to some, death wasn't the end of the story. A year later, the Lutz family moved in, hoping to build a new life. What they found instead was a nightmare. A house that seemed alive, breathing, watching, tormenting. Something inhuman stalked the halls. Black swarms of flies in the dead of winter, terror oozing from the walls, doors slamming on their own, eyes watching from the dark, and a voice whispering, "Get out." Was it grief of restless spirits clinging to the house, a trick of the mind, or something far darker and malevolent? To this day, the Amityville house stands as one of the most chilling mysteries in American history. Part true crime, part ghost story, and all terror. So turn off your lights, lock your doors, and settle in. Because once you're inside the Amityville house, you may never truly leave.
Oh, goodness. How was your guys' week?
Long.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you guys get to do, as much as you wanted on this case as we did the last time?
I did.
Rachel did. No, I made James watch the movie with me last night, the Amityville Horror. I made him watch it with me because he's never seen it. So I made him watch it with me last night.
I've never seen it either, and to this day, at this point, even covering this case, I still haven't seen it. Nothing. I haven't seen any of them.
I actually think that one was the least. I don't know how to put it.
Is it even considered part of the Conjuring universe?
Yeah,
As far as the movies go.
Because I think the Conjuring, the second one, from what I read earlier today, was based on Amityville.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yes.
I didn't remember that.
Okay, so what I do is
I just figured it was so funny because I rewatched the Amityville Horror, the one from 2005 or whatever. That's what we watched because he's never seen it. I mean, come on, he was just a baby. But he was like, I was not. I was like, you were. You were 15 freaking years old. I already had a baby and another one on the way. Come on now. But anyway, so we're sitting there talking about it, and I was like, well, I couldn't have made you watch the one that's from 1979, before you were even a glimmer in your dad's eye. And he goes, neither were you. I was like, I was closer than you.
I was cooking.
I was cooking. I was almost here.
I was at least a glimmer. Thank God,
So, how about you read your thing, Rachel?
I'm gonna warn you, this one's a little longer.
Okay.
All right. One of the Warrens' most famous cases was none other than Amityville. This case is one of the most well-known haunting and demonic activity. But before we discuss the reported activity in the house, let's look at where it all began, the murders of the DeFeo family. On November 13th, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. burst into a bar near his home at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. Butch was screaming that his parents had been shot. He claimed that to not have been home when the shootings occurred and that he came home to the gruesome scene. According to Butch, this had to be a mob hit as his dad had ties to the local mob groups. Little did law enforcement know that upon entering the home, they would discover a more horrific scene than they imagined. When police arrived at the home, they discovered that not only Butch's parents, Ronald Sr. and Louise DeFeo, dead, but so were his 4 siblings, 2 sisters, Dawn 18 and Allison 13, as well as 2 brothers, Mark 12 and John Matthew 7, were all savagely killed as well. All of the victims were found face down in their beds with their hands raised above their heads. There was no indication of any victim waking up, nor any signs of a struggle. Their neighbors didn't even hear gunshots that night. Butch claimed to have no knowledge of or participation in the murders, but that would soon be proven false. By November 14th of 1974, Butch DeFeo confessed to the murders. He stated, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop." Butch was tried on 6 counts of murder. His defense was that he heard demons commanding him to commit the murders. His attorneys argued for an insanity defense. But with evidence of a strained relationship with his parents, including a fistfight with his father days before the killings, and his history of drug and alcohol abuse, the jury found him guilty. Butch DeFeo was sentenced to 6 consecutive terms of 25 years to life in prison, where he died March 21st, 2021 at the age of 69. Just over a year after the murders in December of 1975, George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children moved into 112 Ocean Avenue. At a reduced price of $80,000, the couple thought it was a steal. But just 28 days later, the family fled the home, leaving all of their belongings behind. The Lutzes claimed activity from strange odors and slime oozing from the walls to George waking up to Kathy levitating over their bed occurred. Changes in George began. He was irritable and distant. He would spend hours in front of the fireplace without moving. He was waking up every night at 3:15, the exact time the murders were believed to begin. Other activity included black stains in the bathroom that could not be cleaned, insects appearing for no reason, and freezing temperatures in certain rooms despite the heat being on. Kathy had dreamed of a woman in black floating over the bed. Their youngest daughter, age 5, said she made a new invisible friend, a red pig with glowing eyes named Jody. One of the boys was shoved by an invisible force, doors opened and closed on their own, and beds shook at night. New York's Channel 5 News contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren when they were preparing for a special on haunted houses. They were ultimately asked to investigate the house. The Warrens accepted the invitation, not seeking recognition or compensation. In March of 1976, they entered the home with a team of psychic investigators, technicians, reporters, and a photographer that specialized in infrared photography. Immediately, Lorraine said something evil was in the house. The basement seemed to be the central point of the activity. George reportedly had an ongoing urge to dig there, as if something were buried there. When Ed and 2 technicians entered the basement, they detected strong EMF variations. Cameras lost focus, and those present reported nausea and headaches. At the same time, Lorraine knelt on the first floor and prayed. She said she felt an ancient, inhuman, mocking presence that was feeding on the trauma that occurred there. Lorraine believed the home was not just haunted, but a portal. That night, the now infamous picture of a boy in the second-floor hallway was taken. The picture shows a young boy with shining eyes and was taken with an infrared camera set to fire automatically at set, and no children were present during the investigation. The investigation ended with determining the house was infested with demonic entities. Ed and Lorraine believed the murders were not the beginning of the activity, but rather the climax of years of dark activity. A cleansing ritual was possible with the Vatican's approval. The ritual also required the consent of the owners, and the Lutzes refused to return to the home, so all efforts were suspended. In 1977, the book Amityville Horror was published. It was written from 45 hours of recorded interviews with George and Kathy Lutz, but not totally. The book and subsequent movies embellished the Lutzes' story, causing the validity of their story to be questioned. Even the Warrens were accused of being a part of the hoax, despite never receiving any payment for their work on the case. The home changed hands over the years, even undergoing remodeling. The address was even changed to deter tourists. None of the owners of the house after the Lutzes reported any activity. In an interview in 1998, Ed Warren was quoted saying, "Amityville was real. The entity that inhabited that house was one of the most dangerous we faced. That others didn't feel it doesn't mean it wasn't there. Evil is intelligent, it hides, and above all, it waits." Was the Amityville haunting a true nightmare one family endured, or an elaborate hoax created to make a buck? You decide.
Okay, so can I speak real quick?
Yeah.
So you said you said it. They determined the house. There was that word again. Infested with
Yeah.
a demon.
I was getting ready to ask the same thing. Why is everything always infested with the Warrens?
Right. Why? Like, and I do know that the Warrens were called in after the Lutzes had left.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think it could be either, but I'm leaning more towards not true.
So I have kind of the same questions I had as last week. So have we ever seen the picture of the boy in the hallway?
I have. It looks, I don't know.
It's eerie to me.
Does it look bona fide?
It does to me. I mean, back then they couldn't have doctored it like they can now.
Right.
I don't think it looks real. Not to me anyway. I was
So,
looking at it earlier. And I just find it, I don't know.
so they were called in by a local news station.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before the Smurl case, right? Because they didn't get called into the Smurl.
It's around the same time.
Well, I know that they called the media in on the Smurl case, so this case, the media called them in. So that's something.
Right.
And I know they're in different towns, different states. Yeah. I really want to kind of dig into Ed and Lorraine a little bit because Ed was the director. He's the founder of Nesper, correct?
I'm not positive.
I think he is. If I remember right, from memory serves from last week, he was like that was like his label. He was the director. I see them having opportunities to make a buck.
But they didn't in this. They did not take any payment
That we know of.
Well, this came
They
from...
didn't have to because ultimately Ed seems more like a businessman, you know, kind of a dishonest businessman, if you ask me, but smart, shrewd, knows how to plan for the future. I mean, it seems like every case they touched is now turned into a moneymaker.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess using their name, they would have to pay some kind of compensation for.
Yeah. So let's talk about Defoe. Because I don't know if I sent to you, I heard about a podcast that covered this from the criminal side called what did I call it? The Prosecutors. I listened to a little bit of it this morning. I listened to the first episode of their Amityville coverage, and I've got halfway through their part 2. And so all I know about this case, other than what I've found on less reliable sources on the internet, is from these attorneys that have this podcast. And they have pulled the actual police reports and everything from Defoe and whatever, I'm assuming, I haven't got that far yet, but whatever the tie is to the Letts as well. So, with that, the Defoe case, you very softly touched on his alcohol and drug use.
It was a big deal.
It was a very big deal. He was full on heroin addict to the point where friends and family had said that his normal routine was while he was able to hold a job, he would go to work, and as soon as he'd get off the clock, he would shoot up and he'd be out until he could shoot up again, and then he'd be out until he had to go to work. And they interviewed him several times. And he's been interviewed probably hundreds of times by now because it got so famous. And every time I've never listened to his interviews.
His stories changed.
Yeah, every single time.
One of his stories, and I didn't cover that because I was trying to keep the true crime aspect down a little bit. One of his stories is that his sister Dawn, the oldest, actually shot and killed everybody, and he shot and killed her.
Right, and that was part of his claim that, and I don't know when he originally made this claim, but he claimed that a woman with black hands handed him, like a dark woman with black hands handed him the weapon and demanded him to kill the family.
Right.
So the only way I would buy that part of the story, and this is where the true crime aspect comes in, is that if the sister was being tormented, and this is just my quick off-the-cuff theory from the very short thing that I've heard, is that Dad was abusive, physically abusive to DeFea, like would whip his ass kind of thing. And so I'm thinking if he's that kind of guy, then maybe he was doing worse things to the daughter.
But they were all found in the same position.
Which tells me that, I mean, the little bit that we know about, because we're not professional criminal investigators by any stretch of the word, but we are reasonable, right? And we've seen
Mhm.
and researched enough of this to know that if they are all laid out the same way, then clearly that's intentional.
Yep.
They did, in fact, move. So that statement that they've repeated over and over is wrong because they're all laid out the same way. That's intentional and that's personal. And when you have somebody that's on heroin like that, either they are on a super duper high and they've told themselves something that's awful and they're doing it, or they're easily persuaded. I absolutely buy that. And if
Right.
they're saying that it's two people, then I could totally make that story up and go with it. I think it's totally plausible. If you want to believe any of it, like, you can make the theory doable. Punch holes in it, that's what it's for, but nobody really knows because he was so strung out on heroin, he doesn't even
Right.
remember.
Right.
But the legal aspect of it was his whole motive was just to get the insurance money so he could go on another H bender. So there's
But
some
I don't, as far as the paranormal end of it, I don't believe that he heard demons. I don't believe that he was,
I believe he heard the drugs talking.
and
yeah,
that's a possibility. But I don't believe that truly it was something telling him, paranormal telling him to do it.
I don't either, but I wonder, if I gave any validity to any story at all, because I've heard or read, in my case, I've read that the professionals have stated on more than one occasion they believe it might have been two people. That causes me to reconsider my fictional story as truth.
Right.
Because the only way somebody else could have been involved was if he killed that somebody else too.
I think the crazy thing is that the neighbors never heard anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out. Because even if you look at the house on Google Maps now, the forensics are saying, I heard this on the podcast today, that the shot from the gun that was used, a shotgun, could have been heard from like a mile away. So if that's the case, there's no reason why nobody wouldn't have heard it. Now, wait a minute though. When did this take place?
Supposedly like 3 o'clock in the morning.
But what day?
That I don't know.
We need
Like
that
day of the week,
information.
like day of the week.
Year. Or I mean
Oh,
time of year.
it was in the winter time, I believe. Hold on, and I'll tell you. November.
What would cause them not to hear it unless they were just
I mean,
very
unless they were
asleep?
just that deep asleep. I mean,
Everyone though?
I know that's
And 8 shots?
yeah,
So, it happened on November 13th,
yeah.
1970.
Okay. Well, I found another interesting name in this case. Stephen Kaplan.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Because I mentioned him last week. Just very briefly. He was the second dissenting opinion for the Smurl case. And
Yep.
I just simply said that he thought it was a hoax because he was essentially saying the
Is he
same thing as
saying
the
the
other
same
one.
thing about this one?
He is, but listen to this. A little more about Stephen Kaplan because I didn't cover him very much last week at all. He was a paranormal investigator and a self-proclaimed vampirologist. Yeah, try to say that one. I think.
Emperorologist.
He is the founder director of Vampire Research Center and Parapsychology Institute of America, and a prominent skeptic of these particular hauntings, the Amityville haunting. So, the interesting thing about Stephen Kaplan is he has a lot of the same credentials as our main focus here, Ed Warren.
Except maybe his credentials are probably true and not self-proclaimed. Maybe. I
Well,
don't know.
but
I'm
here's,
looking into
I
that.
mean, no offense, and for those who do believe in it, it's very odd that a lot of your cryptoids or whatever you want to call it, I don't believe in. But I mean, vampirologist. I mean, that's got to be self-proclaimed.
I'm not saying it's not.
So I
Mm.
think that Ed Warren and Stephen Kaplan hated each other. And I think that at every turn that Kaplan said no, Warren said yes, and vice versa. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more into the future. But the Warrens actually called into question Kaplan's credentials, and they claimed that, let me find it here. They questioned his PhD. He claimed he had a PhD in sociology from Pacific College. And I actually wanted to look that up because if they claimed it wasn't a real thing, because the Lutzes actually denied him coming in to investigate, he said, well, if you're lying, the public will know about it. And then they canceled the investigation with him.
I was
So,
about to say that.
yeah, and so they claim that they canceled because they didn't like his credentials or couldn't find him
Well, what was this after the Warrens had been in there or before?
before. No.
They originally contacted Kaplan on February 16th of 1976.
Right.
So it was after.
Maybe, I don't know when the Warrens went in.
Because my question at that point is, could they have spoken with the Warrens and some feud have been revealed, and their concern was that he would just call it a hoax to call it a hoax.
Well, they questioned him after he questioned
No, it was
them.
after, because it was March of '76 when they went in. So they went in after him.
Like
Okay.
they were contacted after he was contacted.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, they may have been contacted before, but
That kind of brings me to, I don't know if you guys have read it or not, but I did find where, there's a documentary about it in which one of the Lutz children have stated that George was very abusive and controlling, and that the only threat in that house was him.
Yes. It was like the oldest boy, right?
Daniel, I think maybe. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was one of them that did.
And I know that there were claims that he dabbled in the occult, just like the one before him did, right?
I'm not sure. I remember the Smurls, they had the is that who we're talking about? The one before?
No, DeFeo.
The DeFeo or whatever.
Yeah, DeFeo.
I'm not sure. I honestly didn't look into a whole lot about them. I did look at the murders and stuff like that, but I knew we weren't trying to go that route, so I didn't look into a whole lot about them. It was mostly just the Lutz. And I mean, I did also find that there were high levels of oh my gosh, my brain just went, carbon monoxide and things like that in the house.
Well, that in itself could cause hallucinations. It also could cause, I mean, I'm not trying to get the man acquitted, but it also could have contributed to that, you know?
Well,
right.
And mostly George Lutz, a lot of his stuff could be explained by sleep paralysis, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost all of his claims, I feel like, could be explained by sleep paralysis. Like if he really had an experience that scared
sucks,
him.
by the way.
Right.
I don't know if either one of you have ever experienced it, but it sucks.
No, but I try not to think about that kind of stuff because I'm afraid I'll experience it.
It's not a fun thing.
We're not trying to manifest nothing now.
Right.
So. But yeah, and there's been neighbors that have said that it's clearly a hoax because nobody heard anything, nobody saw anything, and there's been other people that have said that it was like absolutely a way to get this young family, because they buy this house and they realize they're in over their heads, right? And now they have all of their money, they have everything dumped into it. And this is a way to get them out of their expensive mortgage, and essentially it did work.
But
it worked.
I mean, I don't know what the equivalent of $80,000 today would be.
Let's look at that real quick. Hold on.
And I know the house was huge.
It was 5 bedrooms, 3 baths.
In upstate New York.
Right. I do know that they even kept the furniture to include the beds that people were murdered.
So, to give you this house is now worth today $1.46 million.
Go look at the house at on Zillow or something, and then see the surrounding area, what those houses are going for, because that's the real estimate.
So equivalent now, $80,000 in 1976 is equivalent to about $500,000 today.
Yeah, so that was
expensive.
Yeah, but that'd be a hell of a deal up there
Yeah.
right now. So here's something else. William Weber, he was the attorney for DeFeo. He has claimed, and he made the claim to People magazine on September 17th of 79. He claimed that the story was absolutely a hoax and that he was in on it with Lutz and the author that wrote the book. I forget what his name is. And they did it to make a profit, pretty much off of the previous murders and to create a lore, essentially, to make money on it. Like it was a scheme to begin with. So I don't know that they bought the house with the anticipation, that they were in over their heads and, that was the scheme. I think they had the scheme going into it because they knew about the
Well, I mean,
murders.
if they were scheming, they had to have had it going into it because they ran out in 28. That's 4 weeks.
Right.
I
And
mean,
so,
come on, you and I, we're not even unpacked in 4 weeks.
right. So, they claim that they had a priest go in to bless the house while they were moving in, and he was slapped across the face
And told to get out.
and told to get out, and yet they stayed anyway. And I'm like, well, if that's true, then yeah, I see elements of a scheme, and I don't believe a word of it. So I do think it's interesting that the scheme worked out, and now there's an entire franchise based on just that house.
So I'm circling back real quick. I did what you said. I went on Zillow and I looked up other houses on Ocean Avenue, Amityville, and it's about right. This one is 1.2 million. This one's 1.5.
It's crazy.
So yeah, and I've read a lot of people saying that another reason they believe it's truly a hoax is because Amityville is a very upper community, is what they say, in the area where this home is,
Yeah.
and that a haunted house would not last there. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
But actually, the house right behind the house last sold for 1.2 million. It actually sold for more than the Amityville house.
and
And the one on
that's the
the one
same house that was actually the post for the police officers when the original murders happened.
the one right in front of it sold for 1.63 million. So
Wow.
yeah.
So it's still like 100 or 200K shy of hitting the rest of the neighbors.
Yeah.
It's probably got some kind of a,
Stigma.
yeah, like nobody wants to own it because of the popularity. It's no longer about the haunting because
Right.
it's
Because
clearly not haunted.
they say that every Halloween there is accidents all on that road from gawkers.
That's
Oh my
crazy.
goodness. Yeah, that's crazy. So I feel like, in comparison to last week, I feel like just reading and researching these two cases, the Smurl haunting feels much more legit
Right.
than this case.
Yeah. I agree.
What is your take on it? Like, real or hoax? And Sherry, what's your take on it?
I mean, I don't know because there's parts of it that seem like maybe it was a money grab, but by the same token, I mean, of course they're going off of what the parents are saying, but if children are being involved in it, if it's coming out of their mouth, then I have to say I believe some.
Okay. What do you think, Sherry?
Well, I don't know either. And here's my thing. We don't know partly, and it sounds terrible to say partly, I'm wondering more about mental illnesses. Because you know yourself, when you have children involved, it's very easy to scare a child into believing.
True.
Like children's imaginations run rampant, which I think also essentially is what opens them up to supernatural and the paranormal,
Right.
because they are so open-minded and they are so willing, I guess is a way to put it. But I mean, in this case, he had Defoe had,
Oh, he was.
these voices telling him to kill his family,
I
right?
don't believe that that's even the case. And I'm not going to spoil it, but
I
there was
started to
more.
say, but
There's
I don't
more
really
to
think
it.
I don't really think he necessarily did, but then I really wonder, George, they hear about this. If he was already suffering with a mental illness, it could make it very easy for other
Right. Power of
manifestations.
suggestion type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just for the little bit that I've researched, and I've only seen, my extent of the Amityville horror is hearing people say Amityville horror. And on top of that, I know that Ryan Reynolds starred in a movie. I know there was a movie made the year I was born. And I just recently found out that the Warrens were attached to that case. And that's literally all I knew until today. But after reading what I've read, and I'll tell you guys what I got here later, I'm gonna go with hoax. Flat out. I think I'm pretty solidified in that. And I feel like there's something interesting going on with the Warrens and Stephen Kaplan.
Yeah. But again,
Yeah.
it's just a rivalry, because if he has similar credentials, is it just a rivalry?
Right.
Which would make sense because they're so close, but I believe Amityville happened shortly before Smurls as far as the Warrens coming in.
Well,
So
I
it would
wonder
make sense him trying to discredit the Smurl case.
if Kaplan ever had any cases that really took off and made money the way the Warrens did.
That's what I'm looking at. Like, we're just working together here.
Great minds think alike.
Right? I was just Googling all of that.
On a side note, I got grocery store feet.
Ew, wash them things.
I've been running around barefoot. Kim probably don't even know what that means.
I'm like sitting here like, what the fuck is grocery store feet?
When you walk around the grocery store barefoot and your bottoms of your feet end up black. So that's what I'm saying. I got grocery store feet.
When your feet's all nasty from walking around all day.
Listen,
It's
we ain't done
grocery
that
store
since
feet.
we was kid.
Well, apparently Rachel did it today. Sorry. Kim gonna hate us editing this week.
Listen, I giggle all the time. Well, I won't say all the time. After like 4 or 5, I'm like, okay, this ain't funny no more.
I'm just glad you don't listen to the audio of the video I send you.
I ain't got that much time.
I'm not finding like any.
Which would be why he would be jealous.
But from what I'm understanding, his was not, or like he didn't do it to put it out there. And it seems okay. I don't know. It kind of seems to me like Ed and Lorraine, they found the people that wanted their stories like out there because they wanted something.
Okay, Google the Parapsychology Institute of America. Well, I guess it'd technically be Vampire Research Center and Parapsychology Institute of America.
Institute, Sherry. Jesus.
Well, AI says there is no single organization called the Parapsychology Institute of America.
Really? Because my AI says that there was a Parapsychology Institute of America founded by paranormal investigator Stephen Kaplan located in New York.
Kaplan claimed he had a PhD in sociology from Pacific College. I tried to look up Pacific College and see what came up, and I found 2 possibilities. One in Forest Grove, Oregon, with Northwest Commission on College and Universities accreditation. Their current offerings was a PhD in clinical psychology, and that was the closest thing I could find. And then same with the next one I found, which was Azusa Pacific University, and it was also accredited through the WASC Senior College and University Commission. But neither one of those are close to sociology. That's 2 totally different things. But Pacific College is a real place in Oregon. So that's interesting. I'm going to have to follow my nose on that one, because I think there's definitely something there between the Warrens and Kaplan.
So apparently there's somebody that's around them, and I mean, this is going to be like, I don't know, somebody that I think I want to look into to see how they're all connected. His name's Ray Garton.
Who's he?
Somehow he intertwines with Stephen Kaplan and Ed and Lorraine on different things. I I just happened to see somebody say, I'm surprised he hasn't come up, like, on one of the things that I'm reading.
Well,
Because I do see where Stephen Kaplan did after one hoax, or after one thing that he says that Ed and Lorraine was a hoax on. I see where his son had said after that he kind of made it his life goal to prove all of the paranormal people that were out to make a buck, to prove them as
Do what?
Ray
I'd like
Barton was an author.
He was an author?
Mm-hmm.
we should look into him a little bit more. Well, looking ahead, what else do we want to cover? I kind of want to do one more involving the Warrens and just see if there's any more dots we can connect, and if so, we can decide what to do then, and then if not, we can go a different direction.
Is it? I don't want to butcher their last name. Oh my gosh.
Snedeker?
Yes,
Yeah.
they look kind of interesting. What draws me to this whole
Snedeker?
yeah, is one of the very first things it says is they called, one of the things I'm reading is they called Ed and Lorraine Warren, who deems their house infested with demons. Like what? Yeah.
There's that word again.
Yes. And they actually, the home that they purchased, it was actually a funeral home. It was a former funeral home.
Okay, so
But I'm totally down for what y'all want to do.
That one will work. I mean, it's in this book, so I've got
okay, let's do that.
information here. All right.
All right, so we're going with Snedeker for next week.
Sounds good to me.
All right, guys, I gotta go. Evan's on his way home, and I think I left my ribs unattended. I know I left my ribs unattended, but they're all right because they're in the air fryer thingamabob.
Yeah,
All right,
I gotta go
well,
cook dinner.
I'm going to go sit down on my ass. I already had a steak dinner my husband cooked.
All right.
Where's mine?
All right, well, I'll talk to you girls later.
All right, talk to you later.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to add to our conversation, or if you have a case you'd like us to cover, leave us a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this video, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.